One Piece fam, what's up? Pops to Games here. We're coming to you from a gameplay from our most recent tournament. We have myself playing Eustass, this is round 2, and Alan with Zephyr. Eustass, I always want to go first, usually it seems like, and with Z, he usually wants to go second. In our opening hands here, my goal is to always usually see some kind of a searcher card, like a Bonnie or something. And with him, he's usually trying to control the board, kind of get to late game, have a 10-drop Kuzan. So in this opening hand, as you'll see from him, he keeps, and I kept as well, because I started with turn 1 play since I'm going first with Bonnie. And then that way, next turn, I can follow it up with a Capone blocker. So my goal, usually when I'm playing Eustass, is to eat some life early, get that card advantage, have a bunch of counters in hand, stuff like that. And then usually from what I've seen from Alan is he's usually trying to control my board. That way, you know, he's not letting me build up too many kind of scary characters to attack with. So I do my Bonnie search here. Right now I'm starting to look for what I can get to kind of in like the later game. Fortunately didn't see anything, so just grabbed a counter with a Pooh. And I figure I need to start going for his life as quick as possible, since he's only at 4 life, to whittle him down. But usually he has counters or something. So we will see what he does here. And so right here he does take his life, which is good for me, even though I'm giving him card advantage. My mistake right here was throwing out the Momo, because next turn I figured be 1 less Dawn, and then I could have a search, because I figure he's probably going to attack Bonnie with his leader, just because no one wants, you know, anyone to be left with searchers. But what I didn't think about was the possibility of Kobe, or I know he runs Shockwave, which he of course has both in hand. So I should have kept the Momo in my hand at this point, as well as possibly the Capone. That way he just has the free and clear swing at Bonnie, because I'm willing to sacrifice the Bonnie since I have other searchers. And as we can see, he attacks the Bonnie. You know, I got the 1 search off of it. I got the card advantage back from the card. So then as you can see, he taps the 3 here for Kobe, pops the Momo. So I lost that. And now the Capone's kind of a dead card. He's going to be the blocker anyways. So I should have just put some more Dawn onto Eustass. But right here, I play out the cat to try to reestablish kind of board control. I want to eliminate as many characters as I can from him, so that way he can't swing back as much with characters on his board when I do rest my stuff. Especially with Zephyr's effect, the -4, and blow up a creature. All of my characters, usually, you know, in the early game, are going to be less cost, thus it's really easy for him to pop them. So right here, you know, Momo sideways, but I want him to keep attacking those. That way I can, you know, start to develop my board with the other pieces. And let's see what he plays next here. He goes for Kuzan, so he can keep to draw. And my goal is usually to whittle his cards down in his hand. That way, when I start to do the big swings, he doesn't have a lot of counters and or, you know, things that'll stop that. Plus, the more cards he sees, you know, he's able to get to Borsalino and lots of other scary threats that he can add onto the board that makes it difficult for me to deal with. In my current build, I am running X-Drake, but against Alan here, there's not a ton of targets for it. The 4-drop Kuzan is one, but you know, usually he's only playing out Borsalinos or things that are 5 and above. As I talked about the Shockwave there for Capone, that's why I should have saved that and kind of waited. Still sticking with my plan of trying to whittle his life down, get him lower, so that way, you know, my goal is that he takes his life early on, so then late game, when I play the big scary stuff, he's not able to stop those. So right here I use Eustass' effect. I figured I'd be aggressive. I have a decent amount of cards in hand. Start to whittle out his cards. You can see he's got the 2 counters, which, you know, I don't want to give him more advantage, but with Zephyr, he usually builds it back pretty quick. And as you can see, he has Queen in hand, so that usually makes it tough once that comes down. I do have a lot of characters that can rest the Queen, but usually the Queen is tougher to deal with because it's not just a kind of instant blow up. I don't have as much of a problem with Borsellino, but the queen is tough. So right here, another Kuzan. He keeps drawing, keep replenishing his hand, which makes it tough to deal with here. So we'll see what he does next. We usually have pretty good games against each other that are close or well fought. So he's going lead, still at 5 life. I'm going to eat those life early on. Usually I get down to 1, 2, sometimes 0 life, just to keep that card advantage, keep those counters, keep searching for, kind of what my next play is going to be. So the problem now that he's got the Kuzans, there's the X-Drake, is that he can use the minus effect on anything big when he starts to attack. So I usually try to wait to play an 8-drop kid, a 7-drop kid, something like that when he has those, just because the -4, then he could play out a Kobe and pop it, and that makes it difficult to keep up with that. So right here, I figure I'm going to be aggressive, still going for that life. I was able to get those 2 cards out of his hand. I figured I'd, pump a bunch on kid. However, he's still got that 1 Kuzan, and now he's at magical Tendon, which good old 10 drops coming, I'm sure. And that's usually when I start to play a little more cautiously, just because I never know when he's going to drop it. So if I put down 5 cost Law, he can pop that super easily, so I can't hide behind blockers as much. And then usually once he gets the 10 drop, he seems to be a little more aggressive at those points. So currently he's thinking of what he's going to do. But see right there, he attacks, minuses. So I'm assuming he's going to have a Kobe or something to pop it. I eat the life again. Still doesn't have a lot of threats on board. So I figure I'm safe to keep kind of getting that card advantage in hand. And we'll see what he does now. I don't think he uses the Zephyr. No, it just attacks. So I still take the life, as I said. Usually I get down to 1 or 2 before I determine whether or not it's smarter to stop taking a life or counter out of it. And he is thinking again. Still has all 10 Dawn. So we will see what he does. I did put up the video to a little faster play time, so that way we don't have to sit as long. But there you go with the 10 drop. So now the problem is, and I'm at 10 Dawn, anything I put out, whether it's 8-drop kid, 7-drop kid, Odin, as soon as his turn comes, everything's a viable target for Kobe or his different things. So I figured right here I attack the 4-drop Kuzan, because I can't let him keep both of those, especially with the cards that are able to pop 0 things. So I do throw out the blocker. That way I'm hoping he will, once again, waste more cards in his hand in order to kill it, because with 10-drop Kuzan's effect and 5 on the board, that makes it really difficult to deal with. And we'll see what he plays next. So he does play the queen, and as you see, I reached for the Eustass because I figured it was going to get popped, but he's trying to rebuild that hand. He countered out of a lot of stuff to keep those kind of 2 life, and so we'll see what he plays next. Usually the queen is one of the more difficult cards I have to deal with. But with that 10 Dawn, he still, could pop the Eustass or do something sneaky, or he could even use his leader's effect here. So at this point of the game, it's difficult for me. Let's see, there's his leader effect, pop the kid. He gets the free swing at me. I do counter out of this one because I figured right there the 10 drop is coming big. And then right here is kind of where the game was set. The double queen really hurt. Even though I could put 7 Dawn onto my leader, swing at his 10-drop Kuzan, the problem is going to be I'd only be swinging for, 12,000. He has 4 cards in hand, which is an easy counter. My double attack with leader, though, he has his 2 blockers. So unfortunately, if I invest my whole turn and Dawn currently into his trying to get his 10 drop off the board, then I'm left with nothing, and he has 2 free swings back with his 10 drop Kuzan, or he could put a bunch of Dawn onto his leader and swing for a bunch. So right now I throw out the Yamato so I can get something else on board. I still have enough cards in hand to weather some attacks with counters. I figured I would try to get the queens off the board and not worry about it. I should have invested probably some more Dawn onto this attack to force out a 2K and or more counters, but instead I went for the double attack with Eustass. I left the 2 Dawn up. I don't know if I have Waterfall or Pump Gibson, but I figured I should be able to kind of weather the storm this turn, but I should have invested a little more Dawn to get 1 queen off the board. Either he would have invested more counters on that second attack, I could have got it, or he would have blocked possibly, and I get 1 queen off the board. But the double queen with the 10 drop, it's kind of not looking so hot right now, and that was my thought, is that I'm able to weather the storm with a few attacks, but he's kind of got a wall that I figured I wouldn't be able to get past, especially with Zephyr's effect and 10 drop Kuzan. This is where Alan's deck really tends to shine, especially with that effect that everything's -5. He can swing and pop almost anything with his leader. So right now I think he's debating on pushing for game, what to attack with, kind of play it easy. He's searching my graveyard, I think, to see what I've played so far. I left the 2 Dawn, say usually for Pump Gibson or Paradise Waterfall, but he is contemplating what he's going to do. I have, let's see, 2, 4, 6 cards in hand. I know some were counters and some weren't, with 1 life left, so that's what makes it difficult of what I can eat and what I can't. So that's where he's debating on, I think, kind of pushing harder for game, popping the Yamato, what to do. The swing back against him, with only Eustass and Yamato out, isn't going to be that bad. That's one thing I usually try and calculate is, if you push hard for game now, what will the swing back be, and can you take it? So right now he just decided to attack with leader. Obviously I don't have any blockers. For 8, I'm going to take that life since I have the counters in hand. With only 4 Dawn, I figure 8 from each queen, 10 from Kuzan. I'd be able to say kind of weather that storm, but he's deciding, do you push for game here and worry about the swing back? He does have the 2 life. If I could have got him down to maybe 1 life and or 0 life a little sooner, I think this next turn would have been more helpful for me. But once that 10 drop came down, I was kind of behind the curve. He shows his hand as far as, not too many plays right there, but he does have the counters. So he does attack with the queen, makes me counter out of that. But then with the 2 Dawn still available, on the swing back, obviously, as you saw in his hand, he does have some answers. So I'm assuming that was his thought process of attack with the queen, because even if I go to attack with Yamato or my leader, he's going to have an event card that he can play. I say that double queen really made it tough, just because that's a hard wall to get through. So I did tap my 2 Dawn for the Pump Gibson to make it 9, and then he swings for the 10. I had the 3 2Ks, which helped me get to 11, and so then I think at this point I probably have 1 or 2 cards in hand. So then it's, does he attack with that queen and push, or does he save it? Because he does have the 2 events in hand, so he should be able to stop most attacks. Because on board right now, I'm only representing a 3 attack threat. He does have queen, plus 2 life, plus his 2 Dawn. That's what I'm calculating right now, is that there's no way I can win since green does not have a rush card. So I was pretty sure, so once that second queen came, that it was kind of game over, because even if I attack his Kuzan or his other queen, as I talked about just a little bit ago, the swing back is what's going to get me. So I'm trying to calculate Dawn. If I put 4 on my Eustass, 3 for the effect, 3 on Yamato, attack for 9, and attack for 9 twice with my leader, it won't matter. And so I'm just trying to kind of weigh out my options. But the 2 Dawn is what I figured. He had some kind of event card, whether another Shockwave, Thunder Bagua, some purple event card that would stop it as well. And so that's what I'm trying to calculate right now with the math of if I can get it done, but that second queen up pretty much eliminates that. And so I throw down another Yamato, and I figure I would swing in just to see what I could get done, just to try. But at this point, I knew it was pretty much game. So he minuses 3 on Yamato, minuses 3 on my Eustass leader. So right now he's a 2,000 attacker, so that's even more Dawn I have to put onto him. So I made a misplay here. I put the 2 Dawn and swung with technically 4, but he took the life because either way it was game. So extend the handshake, and GG's to Alan.